Hey all, so as you probably know, Grim Knight's got an update 1.1, which added a lot of new content. So this video is just going to take a look through that new content and see what it's all about and how good it is. So I thought that I would start with taking a look at the Longbowman Unit, since that was what I was most excited about. And I thought the best way to examine that unit would be to compare its efficacy against arbalists and musketeers. So I figured the best way to do that was to get to the final wave with just arbalists and see how well they do on the final wave, which should be a good test bed because it has all the enemy units as well as the most threatening one, which is the final boss. And after that I would reload and upgrade them all to musketeers, try it with them, then reload up, upgrade them to longbowmen and try it with them as well. And we'll see who does it best. So as you can see, or as you might have seen, the arbalists, for one thing, don't do very well at hitting these fast guys. You can see that right now. When they're on the ground, they do fine, but when they're up above, they pretty much don't hit them at all. Against the golems, they're decent. They don't kill the golems super fast, but I mean, in this case, that's partly because I have them in the towers, and they would actually do better if they were just clumped up on top of the wall, where they could all be in range, but whatever. I got Grenadiers support, and they take care of them no problem, so it's not too big a deal. So we're going to fast forward, because this is just the small time stuff, and we'll use up our potions. And the idea here is that all three of the different units are going to be using the exact same base villagers, so the same perks and the same potions and all that. So it should be a fair test. So, we've come to the first real problem with the arbalists, which is that they do not do well against knights. As you can see, the direct hits are doing like 1 or 2 damage, which is nothing. Pretty much all the damage is coming from the fire arrows, the damage over time from the fire, and it's not a lot. So the knights are starting to skirt by here, and we're also taking damage on our towers from the giants because the knights are distracting all the fire. And actually that knight has gotten by with pretty much full health, so not doing well at all against the knights. Musketeers are doing a decent job at keeping the rest of them out. And yeah, the Spearmen are not going to do anything against the knights, so I'd say already that's big problems with the arbalists. They've pretty much lost the town. I mean, it could be recovered, but I really consider it a redo if they get past the initial defenses. Now against Grim himself, we're doing okay. He's about a quarter dead already. He's also halfway through the towers, so... But I think he's about half dead now. Yeah, looks like it. So against Grim, they're decent. Not great, but they can get the job done. But they definitely didn't get it done against those knights. With like twice as many grenadiers and micromanaging the grenadiers, we could take out the knights that way. Which is how I've mostly done it in the past. Oh, but Grim might get by here. Oh, it's close, but it looks like he's gonna get it. He's gonna make it. Oh, fire? Burn! Yep, okay, we did get him. Just barely. But yeah, we got problems. I'd say that's a fail. So, next up, we'll do Musketeers. So we reloaded to before that night, and we upgraded everybody to Musketeers, which took a lot of resources, but it was actually pretty tough to save up that many resources by this time in the game. It was the biggest challenge yet, but we did it. So now we have just as many Musketeers as we had Arbalists, and they're all the same people, so... oh, I forgot to mention the Arbalists do a perfectly fine job against the bats, and as you can see, the Musketeers do even better. So next we'll check at how they do firing above at the fast guys, once we get them over there. Okay, here we go. So there you go. Just a couple of Musketeers shot at that fast guy and killed him. And as you can see, they're getting the new wolves, which we'll take a closer look at the wolves later, since they're also a new unit. And as you can see, they have no problem whatsoever with the golems. The golems die as soon as they get into range. And again, that's partially because these guys aren't in the tower, so they're not quite so spread out. They have more concentrated DPS. But mostly it's just that they have way higher damage. So armor is not a problem, as you can see with these knights, who are also dying as soon as they get into range. A stark contrast from the Arbalists, for sure. I really don't even need help from the Grenadiers at all. Not remotely close. So, I just need to get Grimmy Boy up here and see how they do it against him. And one would expect that they will do quite a bit better than the Arbalists. I do wish that the Musketeers got some benefit from being in the towers, like, I don't know, increased range, or maybe faster reload. Okay, so he's already halfway down, and he's only like a quarter of the way through the towers. So we can already see he is not going to get past. $33 to 41 damage. Cares very little for armor. So there you go. Took care of him, no problem. So we have established that the Musketeers are better than the Arbalists in pretty much every respect. So now, taking a look at the Longbowmen against the Bats. Now the thing with the Longbowmen is they can't really aim. So they're just kind of firing, you know, a little river of arrows here that the bats run into. And it actually works decently well. Although we do have a little wolf that got in down there and caused some trouble. So there you go. They do decently well against the bats. Not quite as well as the Musketeers, I would say. Now, against the fast guys, well, they are entirely useless because they can't aim at the fast guys, and their minimum range is quite far, so they can only hit them by accident at a long range. So definitely not ideal against those fast units. Now, against the golems, you might not be able to tell, but they're actually aiming at the golems right now. Despite the fact that, you know, they're hitting like 20 meters further back. Yeah, that's because their minimum range prevents them from hitting those golems. So, not great. Not great against golems. They can do some damage against the golems as the golems are walking in, but once they get through, you've got to rely on somebody else. So we're going to have to bring the grenadiers up here to take care of those guys. Just so that we can see how they do against what comes next. And bombs away! There we go. So the Longbowmen have a peculiar sort of aiming system. It's similar to the Grenadiers in that you kind of have to position them. Except it's not really positioning, because the thing is they do aim, unlike the Grenadiers, which the Grenadiers just throw the same distance, same angle every time. So if you just move them to the right position, they will hit where you want. The Longbowmen are actually worse, because they do try and aim, but they fail, like every time. They consistently overshoot the target. So what that means is that they are only ever going to be able to hit units that are behind other units. They can never hit the front units in an attack. Which means that even if you try and position them perfectly, they're still not going to hit them. Still not going to hit the target you want. You have to be able to, like, tell them to target something in front of what you want them to hit. So as you can see, I mean, they are killing giants. So they do quite a bit of damage to stuff as it's coming in. But as you can also see, they hit nothing on those that front wave of knights, because they just literally can't. They can't hit the front units. So that's a big problem. It's a problem that you could mitigate by using the Grenadiers to manually target those front units after they get by. But yeah, it's definitely not ideal. And as you can also see, these couple of knights that are coming up in front of the giants have taken very little damage. So even if the knights are not the front units, they still get by the Longbowmen pretty easily. Because as you can see here, while the Longbowmen do, like, you know, 10 to 20 damage on direct hits, mostly they just hit the ground and do an AoE of 2. And it's a pretty small AoE as well. Now, why Longbowmen are doing any area damage at all, I have no idea. It might make sense if they had some sort of explosive strapped to their arrows, but they don't cost any sulfur like the Grenadiers do, so it doesn't seem like they can possibly be using explosives. And I can't really think of any other way that their arrows could Can do area damage. Maybe the arrows shatter and the shrapnel does? I don't know. I don't know. So, as you can see, they did nothing. Nothing to Grim. Like maybe 5% of his health. So yeah, I'm gonna have to call Longbowman a pretty dismal failure. So here is one of the new enemy types, the wolves. And as you can see, arbalists, again, can pretty much not hit them at all. The wolves, the way they attack is they run like through the target, and then they go back and forth across the target, biting them. And they're kind of nasty, but pikemen with good armor can handle them easily. And just to show, here's the gunman dealing with them. And as you can see, they get the vast majority of the wolves. So yeah, again, Musketeers, the best unit in every respect so far. They don't have AoE, but they also don't need it, because they just do so much single target damage. And here is the other new unit, the Flesh Golem, or there it was, because it's already dead. 1200 hit points, no armor. It's just a minor damage sponge, but it's no big deal. That'll be disappointing. So here's the other new friendly unit, the Knight. And I'm letting them handle like a full wave here just to see what happens. And they're doing some pretty good damage, but they do get overrun pretty quickly. I mean, there are enemy knights in there, dread knights, so not entirely unexpected. Just to give a comparison, here's the Spearmen in this exact same scenario. Now, what's interesting is you'll notice that the Spearmen keep pushing the enemies back, whereas the Knights do not. So the Spearmen don't get, like, overwhelmed nearly as quickly. And as well, the big units like the Dread Knights, knock the Spearmen back. So that also keeps them from getting dogpiled for a little while longer. So even though the Knights have way more health and armor, they last about as long in that situation as the Spearmen. Here's the Knight tanking against bats. As you can see, he's taking like 1 to 4 damage each hit. And he's got 150 health, so it's nothing. He can easily tank just the one unit on his own. So they're very nice for that. And here is another more common scenario. Clearing out the mines with Knights. They do excellent in this capacity. You can just throw them down there into any group of enemies, and they will not only survive with plenty of health to spare, but they will actually kill the enemies pretty quickly. Now, as you can see, sometimes they just stand there for a couple of seconds, and that seems to be a bug. I think it happens with Spearmen too, and I don't think it was happening before this update that I noticed, but whatever. So moving on to treasures, you got the red treasure chests, which give like 5 or 6 of each resource. You get the gold treasure chests, which give like double that, and then you have the platinum chests, which give like 45. So yeah, big difference. Platinum chests will make you rich all on their own. What I'm showing here is that the treasure chests, their contents are randomly generated when you open them. So as you can see, I keep reloading to the same point before I open the chest and then trying again, and we're getting different stuff. So they will drop some amount of resources, usually between 2 and 4 drops of resources, and then some potions. So now we have the market. As you can see, the market prices are significantly worse than the trader, so I wouldn't use it for that. If you put a person in the stands, he will generate 1 gold every cycle, I guess. You can also make lampposts for just 1 gold, which is pretty cheap. It's not something you want to do early game, probably, but you know, once you've gotten all your upgrades, why not? And the banners, you can change them to whatever color you want, which is nice. So yeah, I definitely wouldn't use the market for gold generation. I mean, like, if the game went on super, super long, I can see it being useful if you, like, mined out the map, but nobody's ever going to play that long, so it's kind of pointless. You can also do standing banners, and same deal there. You can change their color to whatever you want. And I believe you can put those anywhere on the ground. And then last is the torches, which you can put anywhere that they're touching either the ground or your buildings. So as long as they're not floating in the air, it's fine. And those are pretty cheap. They just cost 1 wood and 1 stone, I believe. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, it makes it pretty easy to light up the town. And if you guys noticed earlier, that super long tunnel I was digging, here's the culmination of it. We did reach the other side of the map. Unfortunately, we could not undermine the castle and destroy it. I know, I'm disappointed too. It would be cool if, like, you know, you could destroy the castle somehow to make the zombies stop coming, like if you got troops all the way over to that side of the map and could, like, infiltrate it or something, I don't know. Maybe in future content that could be a victory condition. And hopefully I will see you again for another video when the next update comes out, the next big one. It sounds like there will be a sequel to the game, so looking forward to that. See you guys then.